Hello, my name is Josh Kornelow. I'm an Etobicoke woodworker. I'm just going to introduce myself and let people trickle in the first few minutes. My name is Josh Kornelow. Sorry, I'm a little nervous doing any kind of public speaking, so you're gonna have to bear with me a little bit. My name is Josh. I've lived in Etobicoke my whole life. My grandfather was a cabinet maker in Etobicoke. My father was a cabinet maker in Etobicoke, and my daytime is I am a cabinet maker in Etobicoke. So woodworking's always been something I've been around. But in the last couple of years, I have started moving into, I like doing a more natural look. I like trying to keep, an essence of the tree, if that makes any sense. So it kind of started a few years ago. I was camping with my wife. She's holding the camera. And every tree has a very kind of unique story, and I try to preserve that. I wouldn't call myself an artist, a craftsman, I guess, but I have been getting into a lot more of the sort of artsy side of woodworking lately. I'd like to thank Arts Etobicoke for putting us up today. It's been really great, especially on the more craftier side I'm doing. Before, I was kind of supporting it through markets and like selling open air markets and stuff, and that's been really tough, obviously, now. Okay. So I'd like to thank Arts Etobicoke again for the opportunity. So I guess I'm just going to show you a little bit of what I do. Okay, you want to pan out a bit? So I got a piece kind of set up here, ready to go. This is sort of my first step, after I've been, I guess the first step is finding a piece you like. So, I drive around. In the city, it's hard to get in Toronto, so, I drive outside of Ontario, but I try to make sure that all the wood I use is, sustainably harvested, and it's all Ontario wood. So because I use a lot of Ontario wood, I work mostly with walnut, maple, cherry, hardwoods that grow in Ontario. So this is generally my first step. Is I like to get my workpiece nice and flat. So I used to have a shop-made jig for flattening pieces. It's kind of clumsy though. So I invested in this machined aluminum slide. It saves a lot. It really saves a lot of hassle on my end. So if you come in on kind of close here, right? So a problem we run into a lot is you want a piece, and eventually you want it to be like a usable furniture piece. But you have all these gnarly spots, and that's been really hard to fill. So a lot of people now are using epoxy to fill, two-part resin, right? So you can pour there and flatten it. You can also add color pigments, and I think that's sort of where a lot of the art side comes from it. We can look at some pieces I have. So you can just get so these are just different ways you can use the epoxy with the wood. I think they're two mediums that work really well together. So here you can either emphasize the epoxy more or the wood more, right? So here the epoxy is just stabilizing the wood, and we're not really trying to draw away from, the look or the feel of the piece as a whole. But here, you can really get funky with it, and I don't know if the camera picks it up, but the epoxy is translucent, so it gives a really nice sort of depth of light. So just a few pieces that I have going through the shop right now. I have some of these live edge end tables. I had the legs welded by an Ontario welder. But this is nice. So this coloration in the maple, that's actually a totally natural process. So when a tree is stressed, either by insects or moss, the maple can produce a chemical that stains the wood pink. And it's a totally natural process. It doesn't change the integrity of the wood. So as you can see here, with the epoxy fills, I didn't want to take too much away. I just used a neutral color, like white. You know, the wood already has this natural red staining that came out really nice. So now a bigger piece that I've been working on for the last few weeks. I have this nice dining table. It's 9 foot by 3 feet wide, and it's one solid slab of walnut. Like, this isn't pieces laminated together. This is one chunk of wood. See here, I just used the epoxy, just again to stabilize cracks. So wood is a natural product, so every piece is different, and every piece has its own cracks and holes that need to be fixed. This table, I did a solid wood base for. Again, out of Ontario walnut.
Do you want to talk about the metal frame?
Yeah. So the same welder that welded up those legs. So because wood's a natural product, and as it dries, it's going to move. So an issue I had with this table was after I flattened it and left it over the weekend, it already was starting to cup. So there's a metal frame bolted on underneath the table just to keep it flat. But I try to keep I try to keep it, looking, I try to hide all the metal work.
You want to talk about some of the smaller stuff?
Yeah, so actually before it became harder, we used to do a lot of open air markets and farmers markets, and we just sell small stuff. It's sort of how I pay for the hobby. So we do cutting boards, glued up live edge cutting boards. So it's the same deal. You look at so when you get a tree and it's cut up and dried, I like to go around and peruse, look for pieces of wood with nice grain patterns.
What's this?
This is a cherry board.
What are the other ones?
These are sort of the Ontario trio of maple, cherry, and walnut all together. So these are all, local wood. I try to use all local, sustainable wood. I think it's important. Sorry, again, I'm super nervous. I just like to thank Arts Etobicoke again for the opportunity.
And if anybody has questions, just put them in the comments.
Yeah, if anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to answer. So I know a lot of what I've shown looks very unapproachable, but actually, so woodworking is very scalable, right? Woodworking scales to whatever space you have available, right? So my first wood shop was in a dorm room, and it was just in this bag. And it's just 2 knives, some wood, sandpaper, and oil. And I just sat in my dorm room and whittled spoons to pass the time. I think that's why wood is such a great medium. Because really, whether you're in a big industrial space, a bedroom, or a garage, it's an infinitely scalable medium. Like, anyone can pick it up, regardless of your space or your abilities.
Somebody is asking about how you find your wood, and that they like desks and small tables. So maybe talk about where you find wood, and I don't know, what kind of wood is important for you. Okay, so for tabletops, like you're talking desks, tables, you're going to want a big slab of something hard, oak, maple, walnut. I tend to find that all the nice pieces of wood, like sort of within GTA proper, are often pretty overpriced. So personally, I drive north a few hours. There are local sort of smaller sawmills all over the province. So, every once in a while we take the van out and sort of, drive around the province, check out some lumber yards. Also, listen, I've got pieces just off the street, someone cuts down a tree and they left a piece of the stump. You can take that, let it dry, and work it.
Talk about your plans for the solar kiln.
Oh, yeah. So we've been thinking about setting up a kiln so we can sort of lock down, process our own lumber from scratch, which is really sort of the end goal, is to have the whole process done by me, just on every level.
So how's the solar kiln work?
Oh, sorry. So a solar kiln is, so you can air dry wood, right? You can cut it up into, 2-inch sheets, separate them and let them air dry, but that takes the better part of a year before you can start working it. So we've started building a solar kiln, which essentially is it's just a box you sit in the sun with some dehumidifiers, and it really speeds up the process. You can have millable lumber in, a few months compared to a year.
Okay, let's talk about this table. What was the whole process, like from lumber to now? Okay, so from lumber,
so this piece I bought, do you remember where that lumber mill? Bauman Sawmill, just past Kitchener. So when I got it, it was in rough shape. It was not looking good. It was it had not, with a big piece like this, right, that's why most lumber is cut a lot smaller. So a big piece like this, as it dries, it's going to move a lot, right? So even though it was cut flat, you're going to have, curves and cracks.
So how thick was it when you bought it?
So actually, in the flattening process, we lost like half the thickness. So this was probably closer to 3.5 or 4 inches when we bought it. By the time it got flattened, it was only about 2 inches.
How'd you flatten it?
So actually, I flattened it with this. So what I like about my setup here is it's modular, so I can scale it up to where I need it to be. So for that piece, I only need it set up with the small extensions, but that setup can accept, large furniture pieces.
How'd you sand it?
So actually, this table, because it was so big, I actually rented for the first couple passes of sanding, I rented a floor sander and stood on it and just kind of went over it. And then, you step up to palm sanding and finish sanding. So this table, just to stabilize it, just see there were these big cracks during the drying. So again, we use that 2-part resin. And this is actually commissioned, so the client just wanted a very neutral color. So we just did black. We thought it looked nice.
And then how'd you build the base?
So the base is actually just an old style, shaker style base. It's all solid walnut. The legs are solid laminated walnut. And then just a traditional mortise and tenon joint on the joinery. So really nothing too complex, but it ends up with a really nice piece.
Someone wants to know what your favorite tool in the shop is.
Oh, actually, so sometimes the best tool for a job is the oldest tool. So this is a draw knife, and carpenters have been using draw knives for like 1,000 years. And it's for rough shaping, especially to debark. So this piece, when I got it, had all the bark still. So for things like cutting boards and tables, anything food's going to be around, I like to strip the bark. Bark can hold in bacteria. It's not good. So for rough shaping and debarking, a nice draw knife that you keep nice and sharp is, for me, is one of my favorite tools in the shop.
You want to show the bark over there? Do you want to show the bark on that one as an example? Oh, you took it off. Sorry.
So yeah, sometimes, the oldest tools are the best tools. So speaking of tools, one of the most important tools you can have for your wood shop is actually a library card. There are tons of resources. Like, you don't have to go to school to learn woodworking, right? I actually went to school for history, and I started whittling knives in my dorm room, and that turned into, a passion and a profession.
Books you recommend?
Yeah. So actually, for the live edge stuff that I do, my favorite woodworker is an American woodworker, George Nakashima. And I would really suggest his book, Soul of a Tree. It's just the stuff he did with, like, he really brought this natural edge, like, to the forefront in the 60s, and just some of the stuff he does is incredible. So if anyone is interested in it, I would recommend anything.
Do you collect any draw knives?
No, I just have the one.
Do you have the chisels out for bark?
The what?
How to use the...
Oh, they're away, sorry.
How to use them? The chisels. Am I using the wrong word?
Yeah, so it's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
No, but like, how would you get the bark out of something maybe a bit rougher like this?
Yeah, no, that's a tedious process. Just a small chisel and a hammer, and you go at it for a while.
Do you do any wood burning?
No, I don't. Other than all the pieces I finish, I burn my brand on them.
And how do you do that?
So I had a friend of mine, a tattoo artist. I had her draw me up the logo, and then I found a company in Michigan that they will machine you custom brass brands. So I actually heat it up on the stovetop and just stamp pieces before they get oiled.
And then somebody earlier was asking about if you work a lot with oak.
I don't personally. I haven't yet. Again, I work mostly with. I really like walnut, but cherry and maple are the three woods I use the most.
And okay, so these are like charcuterie boards, both like this and live edge are really popular right now. How would you maintain one of them if you buy them?
So what I recommend for home is if you're gonna, re-oil them at home, use mineral oil is the best. But you can use oils you have, some of the oils you have around your house. Coconut oil works to oil a board. Walnut oil works to oil a board. Some people use vegetable oil. That's not good. Vegetable oil, olive oil. Those oils can tend to soak in the wood and grow rancid over time. So coconut works, walnut works, and again, a pure mineral is suggested.
And somebody else wants to know if you have a favorite piece in the shop.
That's by far this dining table. There was, it's been in the shop a while. I've been working on it for a long time, and I'm really proud of the way it came out.
Yeah, because we had to slow down a lot for...
Yeah, we kind of shut down when everyone else did. But this is the piece I'm probably most proud of that I've done so far.
Any advice for woodworkers?
Yeah, like I said, you can, if you're just starting out. So the way I started out was I went to the library and I bought books. And like I said, I started carving spoons in my dorm room, right? So all you need is a knife and a block of wood, and you can start learning how to work wood.
It's a great camping activity too, if you're just standing around a campfire. And then if anybody wants to reach out to you for advice,
I'm super happy to help the community. Etobicoke Arts has helped me. So last Christmas was the first time I ever sort of showed pieces, and it was at a Christmas market that Etobicoke Arts put on.
Yeah, the holiday market.
Yeah, so if anyone has any questions, I know I may have been a little bit rambly today, but if anyone has any questions, you can message me on Instagram. It's just Castor Woodworks.
Oh, show what you have.
I'm sure it's linked in the
Here, show what you have in the whittling kit for anybody who might want to start.
So this is just, so like I said, woodworking, whatever, it fits whatever space you're in. So when I was in a dorm, this was my woodworking kit, right? So just some knives for, shaping. This is a spoon gouge. So you use these to carve the spoon part of a spoon. And then, various abrasive grits and some finishing oil. And then just a sharpening stone to keep my knives sharp. And this was my first wood shop, and it all fit in a small bag. So I think it's a really rewarding hobby.
Somebody wants to know what the knives are.
Oh yeah, so these are Swedish knives, Mora Niv. They're just, that's just a standard whittling knife. It's a little dirty. I was in some walnut this morning.
I think Lee Valley has them. They have a good variety. Actually, this one is mine because it has a child's safety bit there. So I guess Swedish children use these, and so do I. But Lee Valley has a good selection. Any last thoughts?
No. So again, if anyone has any questions about anything or, advice, or I can point you in a direction, you can reach out to me on Instagram at Castor Woodworks. I'm sure it's been linked in the video description. Again, I'd like to thank Arts Etobicoke for having us. I think it's really great that they're giving spotlights to local creators, especially now when live events are all up in the air. I'd like to thank Mihaela for filming and sort of moving us along. And I'd like to thank everyone who tuned in. I hope you all stay safe.
Thank you
all. And thanks for watching.
Have a great day. Bye.